Hello and welcome to this B2 Post-Intermediate Lesson 11 with me, Kate. Today we're going to be looking at different ways of comparing. And to begin with, I want us to look at these two pictures. Both of them are pictures of Shanghai. Where is Shanghai? Shanghai is in China. This is a picture of Shanghai in 1990. And this is a picture of Shanghai in 2010. So what differences can you spot between the two different pictures of Shanghai? What's the same and what's different? How can we compare them? Some useful phrases to use when comparing. The same as, similar to, different from, worse than, better than, not as, fewer or less than. I'm going to give you some examples. For example, my new phone is the same as yours. This street is different from the old one. The traffic is worse than last year. Today is not as busy as yesterday. There are fewer cars now. We have less money than before. Okay, so back to our pictures of Shanghai, then and now. And also I want you to think about how Shanghai might have changed. So I have 7 possible sentences here. I want you to read them and see if you can complete them to make them true. If you need to, pause the video and then restart when you're ready. Okay, let's see how you got on. Number 1. The streets were completely different from the streets now. The streets were completely different from the streets now. Number 2. The historic buildings the same as they were. The historic buildings are the same as they were. Number 3. Older people play exactly the same games on the street. Older people play exactly the same games on the street. Number 4. Younger people were not as busy as they are now. Younger people were not as busy as they are now. Number 5. Clothes were less colourful than they are now. Clothes were less colourful than they are now. Number 6. Shops were worse than they are now. Shops were worse than they are now. And number 7. There were fewer cars than there are now. There were fewer cars than there are now. Okay, I just want to make an important point. We use fewer with countable nouns. Fewer cars, fewer shops, fewer people. We use less with uncountable nouns. Less time, less traffic, less money. For example, there are fewer people in the park today. There is less traffic than last year. This is a very common error, so be careful of it. Okay, bit of pronunciation now. I want you to listen, and if you have a pen and paper, write down the 6 sentences that you hear. Are you ready? Here we go. The restaurants are better than before. The restaurants are better than before. The streets are a lot busier than they were. The streets are a lot busier than they were. The clothes are different from before. The clothes are different from before. Public transport is not as good as it was. Public transport is not as good as it was. The historic buildings are the same as before. The historic buildings are the same as before. The streets were similar to the way they are now. The streets were similar to the way they are now. Okay, so you should have 6 sentences, all right? I want you to notice the stress and the sounds in the comparative phrases. So this sound, we call it a schwa sound in phonetics, is very common in the English language and occurs in many words that you wouldn't expect to see it. So let's have a look at the comparative phrases and just practice saying those. So let's have a look. Here they are. Let's look at this first one. Better than. Better than. Next one. Not as good as. Not as good as. Not as good as. A lot busier than. A lot busier than. The same as. The same as. The same as. Different from. Different from. Similar to. Similar to. Okay, now let's practice the sentences. You've listened to them. We've focused on the comparative phrases. Now I want you to listen and repeat the whole sentence. Here we go. The restaurants are better than before. The restaurants are better than before. The streets are a lot busier than they were. The streets are a lot busier than they were. The clothes are different from before. The clothes are different from before. Public transport is not as good as it was. Public transport is not as good as it was. The historic buildings are the same as before. The historic buildings are the same as before. The streets were similar to the way they are now. The streets were similar to the way they are now. Okay, right, fantastic. So now let's look at a different city. This is New York, Times Square in New York, USA. I'm going to read 8 different sentences. I want you to listen and decide if the statements are true or false. If they're false, can you correct them? Okay, let's have a go. Here we go. So, number 1. Times Square in the 1950s looks very similar to Times Square now. Is that true or false? False. Times Square in the 1950s looks different from Times Square now. Number 2. The adverts then were exactly the same as modern ones. That's false. The adverts then were a bit different from modern ones. Number 3. The buildings then were completely different from buildings now. True. The buildings there were completely different from buildings now. Number 4. In the 1950s, all the cars were very similar to each other. True. In the 1950s, all the cars were very similar to each other. Number 5. The taxis then were a bit different from the taxis now. False. The taxis then were completely different from the taxis now, not just a bit different. You can see some of them here. Number 6. The traffic then was a lot worse than the traffic now. The traffic then was about the same as the traffic now. Number 7. The pollution then wasn't as bad as the pollution now. In fact, that's false. The pollution then was worse than the pollution now. Number 8. In the 1950s, there were a lot fewer adverts than now. True. In the 1950s, there were a lot fewer adverts than now. Can you think of any other differences? If you like, you can leave them in the comments below. Now I want you to think about your town or city or village now and at some point in the past. Write some sentences comparing things then and now. You might want to think about the clothes, the cost of living, historic buildings, people, pollution, public transport, restaurants, shops, the streets, or traffic, anything at all. For example, I guess pollution wasn't as bad as it is now. Or the historic buildings are exactly the same as before. Leave your comments below. What is something in your town that's different now compared to 10 years ago? Please also don't forget to subscribe and show your support. And coming next in lesson 12, we'll be looking at adjectives for describing places. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.